Hello, friends. Welcome to Headspace Live. This is our Wednesday stream, a live stream on a variety of different topics. This one is going to be a solo episode. My buddy Brandon Nicely is in the Caribbean, resting with his bride and having a good time. So I'm going to take this one alone, and I do have a few things to talk about. It's going to be fun. I'm going to talk about Furiosa, the Mad Max story. This is a new thing. I love movies, by the way, and I just rarely talk about them here on the Headspace Live. I do mention films and what I'm reading and what I'm watching in every single newsletter on christianrayflores.com. But I'm going to sort of attempt to add this to the mix and see if you find this valuable. I want to talk about a call that changed my life. This is a call from my wife. I was in an airport in Jamaica, and it changed the way I view how my professional and my personal life are interdependent and in a very special way, which actually is very responsive, very much a genesis or a trigger to or an how would I say it? There's a movie term that's in my head. Anyway, I'll think of it later. But it's sort of the beginning of understanding how our high productivity, high creativity, world changing capabilities actually are rooted in our personal lives. And those worlds of personal and professional actually are interdependent. Anyway, so I'll talk about that. And then I'll sort of from that, we'll talk about how I see professionals get stuck all the time. And I have these conversations literally several times a week, every week. Today on Headspace, this is the menu for the day. I hope you like it. If you feel you have a question or want to respond in any way, please leave us your comments wherever it is that you're watching or listening to this. Welcome to Headspace. All right, Furiosa, a Mad Max story. Okay, so I watched this movie yesterday and I sort of wanted to share my thoughts about it because it's such an epic saga. Did you realize that the first Mad Max was released in 1979, and it's been the same director, George Miller, from the beginning. I think he's Australian, and I remember watching the first one. So that's how old I am. I remember watching the first one. I'm going, this is very distinct, very specific, and of course, there's been several sequels. I think the Furiosa is the fifth Mad Max movie. And here's what I love about it. George Miller has had massive success in the first one, maybe a little bit less in the second and third movie. The fourth one, I think, picked it up quite a bit. It was more high budget, more recent. But he has consistently maintained the style, consistently maintained the brand, the aesthetics, and they have improved quite a bit. Oh my gosh, right? The last Mad Max film I didn't get because it was just too much. I was just too dizzy because of the special effects. It was just nonstop action. And I think he dialed it down for the Furiosa film. And it was just the right amount of action, pauses, storytelling, quiet, action, storytelling, quiet. I like that kind of pace. I really don't like relentless car chases, for example. They do nothing for me. But when it's very well paced, and of course the epic design, right? The production design is just stunning to me. The when you see, I think Dune is sort of the same way, right? It has that same very similar aesthetic, not exactly the same, but you can freeze frame any moment in the film and make a poster out of it. That is how just absolutely beautiful this whole thing is, and I just love that. Now about the lead actors, right? So Anya Taylor Joy, she plays Furiosa, and I'm not sure. She's wonderful. I really like her. I'm not sure if her acting was sort of constrained by the genre, the part that what the director wanted, etc. But a lot of it, she didn't have a lot of speaking lines, but she was it was just really this furious staring, right? That happened, very expressive, that happened throughout the movie. So I sort of, I hoped that she would give us more, and maybe this was just the constraint of the film, the genre, and some of the other stuff. So, so I'm gonna give her a lot of grace, but she looks fantastic. It's just not a lot going on when it comes to acting, and perhaps that's just the constraints of the film. Now, Hemsworth, on the other side, he plays Dr. Dementus. He is off the charts awesome. He just sort of reminds me of the Jack Sparrow part in Pirates of the Caribbean. He has a little bit of that swagger, you know. He is so much fun. Oh my gosh, so much fun, and I think he did a really good job. And so I really highly recommend watching the movie. There's a few things that I would have liked to see better, but really overall, it's a great, great movie. It's 2.5 hours, so you have to be sort of awake for it. But I think it's just a great step in movie making. So I enjoyed it. Uh, Deb, my wife, she comes from theater. She wasn't super thrilled by the female part, but otherwise, it's a good movie. Okay, so the call that changed my life. I want to tell you the story, and this is it leads to the third talking point today that I want to share with you, which is how professionals get stuck. And it's essentially an illustration how I came very close to really damaging my family. So I just moved to the U.S., two little babies with my wife. I got offered a job at this international nonprofit, and I was an immigrant. I was learning, everything was new for me. They offered me a really interesting job. I was overseeing the development of a national project, educational project for sort of inner city kids called Positive Choice. And it was literally from the ground up. I had to develop it. It was like a $2.5 million project. And I was going to all these conferences in DC, having receptions at the Smithsonian. At the time I was like, wow, this is life in America. I didn't realize that was not normal. And I was spending time with all these brilliant nonprofit leaders, government people. It was just really exciting for me. I'm a learner. And also, I was in charge of Latin America for this charity, right? And it was like 9 different countries. So I had to figure out what projects are happening where, get in contact with people, try building bridges, find funding, etc., things like that. So it's actually, it was a big job, and I was just fresh off the boat, so I was just very excited, and I was flying all over the place, both nationally and internationally, and I was like drinking out of a fire hose. It was just a lot, but I didn't mind it because it was fun. And then meanwhile, my poor wife, she's at home with two little babies, and she can't even get a relief because I'm literally out of town a lot. So I get this call. I was in Jamaica at this conference, and she's had it. I get this call, and she goes, "You need to get on a plane now. This is not cool, right?" And she said some other things there, which I won't share here. But I was like, all right. And I literally got in a taxi, and I went to the airport, and I didn't have a ticket, and I tried to get on a flight. I couldn't get a flight. And then I got on a flight the next day. Um, but I went home, and it really shook me. And it was a wake up call, quite literally a wake up call, right? And I realized that in my desire to provide, in my desire to lead, in my desire to do good work, it was exciting, it was fulfilling stuff. I had neglected my wife, who I adore, and my two children, who I adore, my two babies, and it just reset me. And I went home, and I spoke to my CEO, and I said, "Look, I need a 6-month travel moratorium." And by the way, the CEO was fantastic and flexible, and I had sort of done that to myself. I sort of volunteered to go to all these places, so it wasn't really somebody like driving me without sensitivity to my family life. It was just me, and I was the source of it all, right? Which was humbling. And I put a moratorium, and I remember thinking, I think I was in the airport, maybe on the flight home, that never again will I allow this to happen and get in the way. And I sort of recalibrated my life in a way where I none of my ambition, my passion, my desire, my learner spirit, which I sort of have. I really love working, especially. I usually have work. I'm lucky enough that is very fulfilling, and so I give myself to it, and treat it as a work of art, right? But I never let that get in the way of the core things in life, because the core things in life, like family, friendships, parenting, are the things on which you stand on for the rest of your life. And I basically decided, look, whatever comes my way, whatever opportunity comes my way, I won't, this is never going to happen again. And it didn't, actually. So it served as an incredible North Star for me for until now. And as a matter of fact, the lifestyles that sort of supported that decision, which is a holistic life, a life where spirituality, family, friendships, excellence, hard work, making the most of your time. I work a lot and very intensely, but I also rest really well. I invest in the people that I serve at work, but I also give and receive from core friendships around me. And I surround myself with people that are just remarkable mentors, life giving people. So all of that together essentially evolved over time uh, into um, into exponential life, which is the coaching that I do, plus all the research and the learning that I've done along the ways. And I interviewed some of the top experts in the world in human flourishing. So that essentially is the thing that became exponential life. Now I'll tell you this because that is a core. That is a core source of my success. I've gotten up more opportunities and have had more impact than I would have otherwise. Although I did very consciously sacrifice financially, opportunity wise, things that I could have done to sort of bring my to build my foundation, right? So for example, I share this with a lot of pride that all of my three girls are now out of the house, and I've never missed anything of significance in their life. Not one thing, not one birthday, not one dance performance, none of those things. I was always there, and that was a very conscious decision. As a matter of fact, two out of the three, we homeschooled for 13 years. My wife, of course, took the lead on that, but it was a massive investment, massive sacrifice. Our marriage is a top priority. We go on dates every day, every week. We have a sync up time, every week. As a matter of fact, after the stream, it's my sync up time with Deb. I We love each other. We go on vacations. We have all these rhythms, holistic rhythms. My spiritual life is well paced. I practice a Sabbath. There's just all kinds of dimensionality to this. And what that does is it builds you up as a human being that is joyful, happy, focused, full of strength, full of energy, fit, healthy. And because of that, you can do amazing work, and you can do award winning work, and you can get, because of the quality of the work that you do, you can get opportunities that you wouldn't have gotten any other way. Now, if you ignore that, if you go that same route that I was going when I was in Jamaica, you can actually go faster and higher, but then you'll crash eventually. So what I wanted to do is sort of give you a, because I speak to professionals several times a week around my coaching, right? And I speak and I communicate and I do webinars and stuff like that. I want to give you sort of the sequence that I came up with, which is very, very, very typical. So here's how it works. We work hard, acquire new skills, and add value to the marketplace. So the marketplace gives us more responsibility, high compensation, and more respect. So we marry, have babies, get stuff, buy a house, and life becomes more expensive to maintain. So between the higher costs, more responsibilities, more at stake, and more complexities, we slow our progress down across the board. So after having a clear trajectory in life for years, we all of a sudden we find ourselves, we don't have a direction, only competing obstacles. And maybe we have two or three opportunities, but we don't pursue any of them well. So we lose joy, creativity, productivity, and ironically can no longer grow and do the work we were born to do. We don't work at the top of our game. We can't compete in the marketplace, and our family, friendships, and health are in a depleted state. So we find ourselves anxious, confused, not sure how to bridge the gap between our pain and our dreams. That's the sequence. This is the story that I hear over and over and over again from people that I speak to, and it's endemic. I promise you, it's endemic. One of the things that I ask people to do and promote quite actively is this exponential personalized score that I'm going to put the URL on the screen right now. And it's basically this tool that I created based on my research on 25 years of coaching and some of the top expertise that I found, that I've learned from some of the top experts of the dimensionality of human flourishing. And I put it in a essentially a self-assessment form. And it takes about 7 minutes to take, and people take them all the time because it's really helpful to get in 7 minutes a report sent to your inbox that gives you a lot of clarity of the dimensionality of life and where you're lacking and what you need to change. So I look at these scores. Probably I take 4 or 5 a day that I see in my inbox because people take them all the time. And what I see across the board is this sort of this fragmented state. You are green, which is good in 2 or 3 areas. You're orange, which is not, it's sort of mediocre, around 3 or 4 different areas, and then you're red in 3 or 4 areas. And the green and the orange dominate. The orange and the red dominate, and the green is sort of small. And that happens quite a bit. And it doesn't actually discriminate with age. So it doesn't just happen in your 40s where you're supposed to have your midlife crisis and things like that. But it actually happens early on in your early 30s, in your 35, 40, 45, all the way up to your 55, 60, 70, 75. So I see the range of ages, and I see the same exact problem. And the problem is this, is that we think that our professional life can be separate from our personal life, from our personal flourishing. And those things are actually completely interdependent. And because we've sort of taught, the society gives us this almost like this industrialized way of being, like you're on a conveyor belt, or you are part of the conveyor belt, or you're a cog in the machine, and you just plug in and you put in your hours and you get compensated, and you get to take your families on vacation and buy a better house and a better car. But in exchange, they take your soul. In exchange, they don't give you holistic living and an expansive living where you can create, where you can invent, you can create new businesses, new ideas, new works of art. You can treat people not as sort of a cog in a machine, but as a human being, as an artist, a generous artist. And to me, that's the dream for everybody. Honestly, I don't think any of us are non-creative. All of us are creative. That's how we were born to be. We're sort of educated out of creativity, out of flourishing, and out of a state of expansive growth where every season of life is marked both by difficulties and obstacles that are actually good for us because we grow from it, and they're marked by a new level of expertise, value, the gifts that we bring to the world. And a lot of professionals are sort of wrecked by the way things are, the way things have been built and created, and it's nobody's fault, but it's good to get off the hamster wheel. That's what I say to you. And that I'm lucky enough that I got off of it fairly quickly. I was probably 30. I want to say I was 35, something like that. Yeah, I was 35 when that call happened in Jamaica, and man, that was just awful. I felt so bad, and I went home and I profusely apologized to Deb because I adore her and adore my girls. And I was telling a friend of mine who's in my coaching program actually during one of our sessions. He said, I feel like I'm so frustrated with my professional life, and I feel like I'm a failure. And I said to him, I said, brother, I know your life. You have a great marriage. You are actually an exceptional professional. It's all relative, right? But you have a great marriage. I know your daughter. Your daughter loves you, is very well adjusted, very impressive. And I can tell you that on your deathbed, you will not care about how many books you sold. You will not care how many millions of dollars you made. You will only care about love. That's what you'll care about. Both in your personal life, your family life, your friendships, and your work life. If love is there, you're going to have a great life. And this is what we're going to work on together at Xponential, right? So anyway, I just wanted to share those thoughts with you. I hope they're helpful to you. I want to give you a little PSA on one more webinar that is happening in June. We're going to take a break for the free webinars. I do a free webinar maybe a month, every month and a half, and I'm gonna take a break for the summer, but I'm going to do one more at the end of June. All you have to do is go to exponential.life without the score, so exponential.life, and wait for that little pop-up to show up. There's a little green banner that shows up with the next webinar, and you can RSVP. We usually run out of spots fairly quickly, so if you don't find one, you can just join the waitlist. Join the waitlist, and we try to basically say, hey, if you can't make it, give up your seat for somebody else, and et cetera, et cetera. But those webinars are really great. They're actually more like group coaching sessions, free group coaching sessions, because I try to give, not overwhelm the group. It's a very intimate group with information, but really give them just enough for them to grasp on. And then we break 3 or 4 times for Q&A. So it's very interactive. We don't record those. It's very intimate, and it's very impactful. So I highly recommend it. And the next one's going to be actually one of my favorite topics, is developing anti-fragility, how to thrive in times of change. And of course, we all find ourselves in times of a lot of change, a lot of change. It's going to make you dizzy. The next decade is going to be crazy. So I have sort of this advantage, this unfair advantage, I would say, that I've gone through so much instability so early on in life, and I've become a student of what does it take for you to not only survive but actually thrive in times of change, in times of failure perhaps, or scary times, stressful times, and how can you grow from it? Not only not be less capable, but be more capable because of it. So I've been a student of anti-fragility for a long time, and I want to share some very practical tips and some stories from my personal life, and how I've seen people that I've sort of worked with and helped do the same exact thing. And it's incredibly hope-giving and life-giving to know that yes, stress and instability and uncertainty can be unnerving and stressful for anybody. That's just a normal reaction of our brain. We were wired for survival. But you can override that with the skill set to grow and actually succeed on a higher level. Not only in spite of it, but because of the obstacles that you overcame. So we're going to unpack all of that. I think it's June 29th, if I'm not mistaken. You can just go to exponential.life, and also feel free to reach out and ask for future topics and things like that. Leave us your comments below. If you haven't done this yet, christianrayflores.com. It's my free newsletter that drops every Sunday morning. And I basically, everything cool I find out there, including episodes, texts, books that I'm reading, films that I'm watching, artists that I'm following, all of that good stuff, everything, all of the best, I just put there in a very concise manner, and it gets into your inbox every Sunday morning. We have about 12,000 subscribers so far, so it's growing. And but you can join for free, or you can become a paid subscriber as well, which I will thank you for. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And what I wanted to sort of share before I sort of hit that button with the bumper again is, I really want to hear back from you, right? This is me sharing the best value that I can share, best stories, best insights, my experiences, all of that. And I would love to hear from you. It's very valuable. So you can reach out to me via email, via Facebook. You can find me on the socials, or just commenting on this video. And I always respond. So thank you again for being part of this.